Alright, welcome back to Prophet Plays. I am Tyler, also known as Prophet. We're going to be continuing our Lantern Control theme here tonight with the black-green version of Lantern Control. So this is a little bit different from what's normally played. I guess the Abzan version right now is currently the most commonly played. And then Esper has been rather popular online lately, has posted a few 5.0s. But personally, I don't like prismatic ending in the deck anymore. I think it's a little bit too slow for the current meta as far as where it's good or where it's better than other removal. Personally, my favorite removal is the Abrupt Decays and the Assassin's Trophies. Really, the only place I find prismatic ending to be better is turn one on the draw against you're staring down a Ragavan, and even then you got to have turn one white, which is not something that the deck is geared to doing. You're more likely going to have turn one black or turn one green for Ancient Stirrings or your Inquisition, Thoughtseize type things. Especially if you're not running a Rainbow land, if you're relying solely on regular duels and Mycosynth Gardens for your colors, you're really going to struggle to have that turn one white mana. So I'm just kind of off of it now. I don't like having the slow removal, sorcery speed removal in the deck, and I've played my Abzan list Tuesday night, and it just felt slow the entire night. It took too long to get set up. Um, there had a couple decent plays in it. Being able to prismatic ending away a Sigarda's Aid or something like that, but at the end of the day, it's just the whole deck felt too slow, and I'm hoping that the black-green version here will be a little bit faster. So, without any further ado, let's get into what we're looking at with the deck this time. A little bit closer to the old classic, uh, the original Lantern list. I mean, obviously we lost Mox Opal, which really hurt, and we're not playing Gear for Aether Grid like Zach L6 GP Oklahoma City list was, which is honestly it surprises even me that it's not in this list because it's been a pet card of mine for this deck since the beginning. So in the lands department, we got 3 Blooming Marsh as our duels. We have the 1 Academy Ruins for some recursion on our artifacts here. We can make that blue off of Glimmer Void, Spire of Industry, Mycosynth Gardens. So we actually do have plenty of blue sources in here for that. We got 1 copy of Beseiju, which more often we're probably going to be destroying something with it as opposed to actually using it as a land. We have our basics and a copy of Forest and a copy of a Swamp. Our Rainbow Suite here, we got 3 Glimmer Voids, 2 Spire of Industries, and we're running the full set of the Mycosynth Gardens. I was so skeptical of this card in the beginning, but it is just a house. We can copy and make another Shredder if we need to. Make another Lantern. I've done that several times where I've made the gardens into another Lantern when mine was about to get destroyed. Extra bridges. The only thing it's really not that good for is Pithing Needle because of how it becomes a copy. You don't get to name anything with it. We got Inventor's Fair over here, a little bit of life gain, some tutor ability to go get bridge, whatever else we might need. And our Urza Sagas, the other big house for the deck in the recent times. Between Mycosynth Gardens and Urza Saga, probably the 2 best cards to come out for this deck in the past few years. Over here we got our Hand Disruption suite in 3 Thoughtseizes and 3 Inquisition of Kozileks. I'm not totally in love with that lineup. I would prefer to play probably 4 Inquisitions and 3 Thoughtseizes. I'd probably go down 1 Surgical. We are running 2 copies of Surgical Extraction, so I'd probably go down with a Surgical for another copy of Inquisition. And we got the 4 Ancient Stirrings to help find our pieces, whether that be a Lantern, a Needle, a Bridge, a Shredder, whatever we need. We got our classic Lantern Lock, general pieces here in our Lantern Insights. We're running a copy of Ghoul Caller's Bell and 1 copy of Pyxis of Pandemonium and a 1/1 split. We got our 4 Codex Shredders. Our main deck Graveyard Hate this time is Soulbad Lantern. We got 3 Pithing Needles to turn off some activated abilities. We got our Underworld Cookbook, just good. You get the hand empty for bridge. Really good against decks like Burn. And we got Spellskite for a little bit of maiden deck protection for our artifacts. And then we've got our 4 ensnaring bridges as the classic lineup. Over here we got our removal suite, so we're running a 2-2 split of Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay. I like Abrupt Decay for, against the, Murktide decks, we can get rid of a Ragavan, without them being able to counter it. DRC, get rid of a Ledger Shredder. Anything that might be a pain to Fairy, it can't be countered. Which is one big advantage it has over Assassin's Trophy, and also over Prismatic Ending, as well as the fact that it is instant speed. Obviously, it's not instant speed for getting after a Teferi, but in any other case, it is instant speed, and we're, I think, advantaged by using that. Now we have our 1 Haywire Might. A little bit of life gain there, but it's mostly here for the removal of being able to get rid of, something along the lines of like a Leyline of Sanctity, any other kind of pain in the ass enchantment or artifact. The only thing it doesn't kill, unfortunately, that we would like to get rid of is Stony Silence, but that's what we got Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay for. The other big advantage this thing has is that we can get it out of off of Urza Saga if we need to. And then we have our kind of flexi spots over here. Just running a copy of Stone Brain is almost a 3rd surgical, except that you don't need anything to be in the graveyard. So you drop this on turn 2, then turn 3 you can crack it and just remove a combo. If they're playing Hammer Time and they haven't dropped a hammer yet, you can name Hammer. If you have a bridge ready to go, you can name the Ornithopter so they can't swing under the bridge and then hammer. You can just remove any potential combos, any combos, any big threats. If you think they have a Boseiju as their only method of main deck artifact removal, then you can name Boseiju and take it. Stonebrain does not care what the card is. It just limits you to removing 4 copies. And then we have a spicy little meatball for our main deck. This Power Conduit. So this lets us, we can take a counter from a permanent we control, which is going to be, in this case, our Urza Sagas. That lets us remove a counter from Urza Saga with the search trigger on the stack to keep it around, and we'll get to search every turn by doing that, while also keeping our Urza Saga around. But when we remove that, we put a counter on an artifact or a +1/+1 counter on a creature. So we can throw that counter on any of our artifacts just to have a place to go with it. Or we can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, so if the opponent does have an Ornithopter or does have a Hierarch or something that can swing under the Ensnaring Bridge, we can put that counter on that creature and disable that from their use. Now, in the sideboard over here, pretty standard for the most part. We got 2 welding jars for protection for our pieces. I like Grafdigger's Cage in the sideboard for additional graveyard hate, mostly against the Yawgmoth combo decks. 2 Torpor Orbs, turning off those pesky enter the battlefield abilities. A second Spellskite, just more protection. Damping Sphere is a 1-of for Tron and Cursed Totem. Just turning more. Basically, that turns off all activated abilities of creatures, which would let us focus our Pithing Needles on other things that we need to turn off, like Planeswalkers. Over here, we got 2 Dauthi Voidwalkers and a Life from the Loam. These are mostly here for the control matchup where we want to be the aggressor. The Dauthi Voidwalker also turns off graveyards for Yogg combo. It turns off like the living end stuff. Life from the Loam, we can just use that to keep getting back getting back Urza Saga, replaying it, getting more constructs. We're running 2 Seal of Primordium, just additional enchantment artifact disruption. It's sort of Stony Silence if you see it, which I've seen quite a bit of lately. In the Mono Black video from earlier this week, we had gone against it when Boggles we were playing against. Gets rid of Blood Moons. Good card to keep around, kind of set and forget. We don't have to keep it up in our hand like we do something like Nature's Claim, which allows the opponent to just hit us with 1/1s. And then we have our sideboard spice. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, is probably my newest pet card for the deck as far as how long I've been playing it. now that I'm not playing Gear for Aether Grid anymore. I love this card. It's, Ancient Stirrings on a stick. It's a win con. If we need to make another creature, we can make one of our artifacts into a 5/5. And then a new one out of Phyrexia All Will Be One is Conduit of Worlds. So this guy right here lets us play lands from our graveyard so we can recur our Urza Sagas for free. We can also use the second ability where we tap it and choose a non-land permanent in our graveyard. And as long as we haven't cast anything this turn yet, we can cast it. If we do, we don't get to cast anything else this turn. But if our bridge gets destroyed, um, any of our other pieces in the graveyard that we need, we can cast it with this. It lets us buy back our removal, buy back hand disruption, pretty much. Non-land permanent. So it doesn't buy back our removal except for our Haywire Might. But any of our lock pieces here, this any little bits like Power Conduit, Stone Brain, anything like that, we can buy that back with this Conduit of Worlds. It is a 4-drop, so it's a little bit risky and sometimes can be difficult to actually get off, but I think the upsides are there, and this is really going to be me testing it. Hopefully we run into a matchup where we're going to want to bring this in. Alright, so that's going to be the deck tech for Green Black Lantern, which is going to be our deck for this week. So stay tuned and we will get into some games.